Welcome to Module 4. I applaud you for showing up this week and putting the effort to explore the way you've been thinking and becoming more conscious of your relationship with yourself. This module is super important. It's going to help you understand another roadblock that's been standing in the way of your happiness. And if you're here, committed, and vulnerably embracing change, you're going to have an incredible transformation in how you see yourself, treat yourself, and experience life. So let's go. Let me introduce you to one of my all-time favorite self-development gurus, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I admire this guy. I study and practice his work on change as it relates to quantum physics and the connection between your brain and your body. His groundbreaking science reveals the potential for us to live the life we've only dreamed of. I know, you've heard it 1,000 times. You can live the life you've only dreamed of. It's true. What I'm about to share in this module emphasizes that knowledge is power. It's not everything, but it's power. And this understanding will help you stop taking yourself so personally. It'll empower you to step into the leading edge of self-mastery, which ultimately leads to sustainable happiness and beyond. Consider his quote, "It takes a tremendous amount of energy and courage to walk a new path when we're learning something new. We must give that new area of study, which is you, our sustained time and attention. It's not an overnight process. Little by little, we're going to do this together." Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule? It applies to many areas of our lives, like your clothes, what's in your cupboards, what's in your purse. We only wear, or I should say, 80% of our clothes we don't wear. 20% we do. We only use 20% of what we possess. So that's not what we're talking about here, though. We're talking about 80% of change is psychology. When you're trying to change something, make a change, 80% of it is psychology. And 20% is strategy. This particular rule is another reinforcement of how I want to help you to stop taking yourself so personally. You'll hear me say it over and over again. Everything isn't about your willpower or your capability or your determination or your motivation. It's way beyond that. It's your psychology. And this will help you understand why you're not hitting the goals and making the changes that you want to make. So let me give you an example. There is literally a strategy for everything. So let's talk about losing weight. We all know how to follow instructions. There's diets everywhere, or even writing a book, or being mindful, or to stop smoking, or to enhance relationships, to lower cholesterol, to improve your self-care. You get the picture. And if we don't know, we can learn because there are simple, straightforward strategies. So there's the keto diet, the paleo diet, the low carb diet, the diet everywhere, juicing, fasting, intermittent fasting. Why can't we sustain it? Or do we not get started but talk about it? The strategy is there. But since 80% of change or success is psychology, just having strategies isn't enough. It's your psychology, your brain, and your body that's holding you back from using those strategies and following the steps you know you need to follow in order to make the change for the results you want. Because it's your psychology that holds you back, we're going to focus on why and what we can do about it. And as always, there's exercises in the module to help you practice these things because knowledge is not enough. It is very helpful though. Back to Dr. Joe. So what has to be done to embrace change with courage? The courage to become conscious of your inner programming. As Dr. Joe says, 95% of who we are is a set of unconscious programs. The first step to change is becoming conscious of those programs. And you're going to understand this at a whole new level very soon. So we're going to dive into the conscious and the subconscious programming that's responsible, well, actually the subconscious, but we're going to study the conscious part of your brain and the subconscious programming that's responsible for all that nonsense you're facing in your life. And we're going to get a grip on it. So let's do it. This information is so powerful. So get ready. You're about to see why. It's all in your head, girl. You've heard that phrase, right? Oh my God, it's all in your head. You've said it to yourself, but most of the time we say it to somebody else. Well, it is all in your head. But the question is, what is it's? What is the it in my head? Okay, it's your adorable thoughts. And it just so happens you have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. That's a thought every 48 seconds. I'm sorry, let me back that up. That is 48 thoughts per second. You don't believe it. I wouldn't believe it either, but it's true. You're listening to me right now and being interrupted by a thought. And remember, your thoughts have a voice. They're saying something. Have you ever thought, I know what they're going to say, but have you applied it to yourself? Right? I always do that. I always say that. Why did I say that? You want to know why? Because 95% of your thoughts are the same thoughts as yesterday, and often at the same time of day. We've become very predictable in our thoughts, words, and actions, not consciously. So it's crazy because I think about that and I joke now. Oh, it's 11 o'clock. It's time to start checking my bank accounts, make sure everything's all in order. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. I got to wash my face and start worrying about the day tomorrow. We do things, we're very predictable, and we don't recognize it. And it's not a bad thing. It's just not very helpful. So 95% are the same thoughts as yesterday, and 60 to 80% of those thoughts are negative or fear-based, which is one of the reasons we're always trying to focus on staying positive with ourselves and everybody else. And the key word in that last phrase is trying. When you're trying, that means something, the negative, has power over you. And as we move forward with this program, you'll understand that trying to override a program, the negative, 60 to 80% of your thoughts a day. Woulda, shoulda, coulda, what if, the unknown, 60 to 80% of them are negative or fear-based. So trying to just override it by staying positive will not set you free. You have to rewrite the programs, which are basically your habits of thought. You cannot override negative with positive. And if you look at your own experience with just trying to look on the bright side or escape something or override your emotions, the I'm fine syndrome, I think your answer will be it's never really resolved the problem. It's a quick and temporary fix. Like when somebody asks something of us and we just in a split second say yes. That's a habit. Only afterward to say, why did I do that? Why did I say that? This is why. And you've been doing it for a long time. So, What is the answer? Why do we keep doing it over and over, like the definition of insanity? You're about to find out. All right, the subconscious brain. Here we go. It's a reliable little sucker, but it needs some rewiring, reprogramming, and upgrading. And luckily, we can do that. So this is the oldest part of your brain, our animal brain. It's your autopilot, and it has lots of power. And its number one job is to help you survive. So let's take a look. This little sucker fires or processes an average of 40 million bits of information a second, and it overpowers the conscious mind, which you'll see, which is firing about 40 bits of information a second. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a 90-10 ratio. It's very significant, and it goes fast. There's benefits, but there's pitfalls as well. Because it is the most powerful source of decision making and action. That's a pitfall. Because it's making our decisions all the time, and they're programmed, and half the time they're the definition of insanity, the same things we're doing and saying and feeling yesterday, because these decisions are based on how we feel rather than what we call logic or rational thinking, the conscious mind, your prefrontal cortex. Okay, so here's the deal. We all know what we need to do. We all know what we should do. We all know what makes sense. We all know what's rational, what's going to get us results. And we're not doing them because of the way it makes us feel. The brain avoids pleasure and seeks pain. The subconscious brain. All right? So credit cards. You're in credit card debt. You know you need to stop charging shoes and buying clothes. You're not buying them. You know the deal. You know what makes sense. You're not buying them because it makes sense. You're buying them because of the way it's making you feel or the pain it's avoiding. Like your messy closet. Just kidding. All right? So we all know at times everything's going to be okay. All right? But it's the way things are making us feel. So we make choices based on that the majority of the time. It operates from and is defined by emotional information and past experience and memories, and the meaning that you've given the past events about yourself, about others, and about the world. It's all affecting your present. Yep, more often than you think. You're literally living in the past or living in fear of the future. And that's the name of the game with this brain. It's not about being present. So, the subconscious brain is programmed for survival and getting your needs met. That's why we respond so quickly. Fight, flight, freeze, response. It's autopilot. It makes us feel like things are urgent and we need to do something right now. Right? And here's the difference, or the deal. It doesn't know the difference between the truth or a lie. It doesn't even know how old you are. It only knows the program it's been given. And emotion fuels it. So if you tell yourself you're stupid or clumsy, you repeat it enough times, or you're too this or too that, your subconscious brain believes you. And if you say it with emotion, I'm so stupid. Oh my gosh. You say that over and over again, even if you're not being serious, it'll believe you and it will act accordingly. So be nice to yourself or practice. All right. It's the part of your brain that seeks pleasure and avoids pain. It wants a quick fix, right? So if I'm stressed out, I'm going to grab some food. Does that make sense? No. Anyone been there before? Uh, and it only hears forward commands. So you can't give it an instruction in the negative. What I mean by that is don't think about a pink elephant. What did your brain do? You can't tell it to stop or to not do something. It doesn't know how to not do something. This little sucker's firing fast. It's on the go. It doesn't know how to stop. So here's an example. If you want your child to have their jacket, tell them to remember their jacket. That's forward. Rather than saying, hey, don't forget your jacket. Your brain doesn't know how to not do something. So you have to give it a forward command. Next, it's resistant to change. Because this little beautiful part of your brain is all about surviving, protecting you, doing things automatically without thinking. Without thinking. All right? That's why I emphasize saying your thoughts out loud. And you're going to learn this in the method. It's one of the ways to move your thoughts and emotions from your subconscious to your conscious. Getting the words out of your mouth gives them more power. And I don't mean by yelling at someone. We'll talk more about that. Oh, and finally, your subconscious is programmed through repetition and emotion, which creates neural pathways, which creates autopilot. And it doesn't matter if they're positive or negative. So we're going to start firing more feel-good emotions. So that becomes our autopilot. But the more you repeat something with emotion, it seals the it seals the D-wires. It seals the deal and it hardwires that program. Okay? So again, there's great things about the subconscious brain. We don't want to have to learn how to retie our shoes every time we put them on, right? We don't want to have to go, oh, I have to, how do I open this? I got to turn the handle, then I pull it. No, it's autopilot. So those are the good things. We want to be able to depend on that. We don't want to have to think. But the bottom line is this little sucker does not want to change. And I keep saying little sucker. Oh, well. It wants to say the same even if you don't like it. All right? The subconscious wants to stay the same because it's all about survival. Meaning not about what you want, but how you feel. The conscious brain. The conscious brain. The wise, the observer, the prefrontal cortex, the newest part of our brain. This is the logic and reason, the aspect of our mental processing that we can think and talk about rationally. Like knowing we shouldn't be charging on that credit card. Even though it feels good at the time. So this part of your brain comes in when you know what to do. You talk about what you need to do, but you don't take the action. Why? Because this little guy is slow. So you charge it anyway. It fires 40 bits of information a second. That's not fast. So the subconscious brain will win until you have access. What else? It defines our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions. The key word is just defines. and you'll see why. It's our awareness of what we're thinking, feeling, memories, and wishes at any given moment. It's aware. It's logic, rationale, reason, objective. It's not driven by emotion. It contains our thinking. Our thinking. So that subconscious brain making 90% of our decisions is not thinking. It's our thinking, our sensing, and our intuition. So here's the problem. It's the least powerful source of decision making and action, 10%. It can be aware, right? It can define what's going on, and it can be aware of what's going on, and it can help you, but it doesn't have that much power. And it doesn't have the power to make decisions. So that's a big deal. That's good to know. So what is the bottom line? It needs more of your attention. We need to have access to it. And we can, and we will. So where do you find it? Where is it? Where is this wise conscious mind? It lives in the present. In the present. And you're going to learn how to do the same. All right, here's the good news. We now have the information and the practices to integrate, to have access to, and integrate these parts of our brains in order to get us to take the action that we want and get the results. Because everything we want is about how it's going to make us feel. Why do I want it? Because it's going to make me feel a certain way. So let's talk about these physical parts of the brain. This is, see the little star there in the front, this is the prefrontal cortex. It's the newest part of our brain, and it's a gift. It's the wise self. It's thinking, logic, what to do, evaluation. It doesn't run on pure instinct or survival, nor does it judge. It evaluates. It's your pause button, and nothing is ever wrong there. It's critical thinking, it's objective, and it's not personal because there's no pressing emotion. It asks, how do I do this? What makes sense? What do I need? What do I give voice to? How does it feel? Do I take action? Do I not take action? What makes sense based on how I'm feeling? So prior to that, we had the subconscious brain, the old part of our brain, often referred to as the animal brain. This is the oldest and the original brain, operating on instinct and survival, and its primary functions were fight, flight, or freeze. And in today's evolution, it still is. It's just responding to a different environment and operates through experience and perception. Does it feel good or does it not feel good? And it vacillates between living in the past and the fear of the unknown future. Okay, so there are two parts of our brain that have a strong connection. See the yellow star? The hippocampus and the amygdala. So let's start with the hippocampus. It regulates memory and emotion, and it plays a crucial role in emotional processing. It helps you remember emotionally significant or traumatic events by connecting with the amygdala, which stores these events and your emotional responses. All right, so down here, turns on fight or flight, stores the memories of the event. and it keeps them secure as reminders of potential threats and triggers the fight or flight response. This is where our past traumas are stored. This is how we perceive things that are going to happen again, even if they're not. It reacts based on what happened in the past rather than what's happening in the present. Or, again, that darn past that's predicting the future. It's highly, highly relevant. I'm telling a story here. It's highly relevant. So, for the majority of us, see that top star where it says weak? The connection between our subconscious and our conscious is very weak. 40 million bits of information a second based on emotion, past and future, versus 40 bits of information a second over here where that wise old owl sits in the present, patiently waiting. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this connection strong. Yes, yes, we're going to make it strong. And we're going to learn more about how to do that next. So thanks to Dr. Joe and many others, we've learned that the connection has everything to do with the body as well. Making that connection. The body is actively and chemically involved in our habits and our ability to change behaviors. Science is now taking us to a spot where we can measure thoughts. We can measure them under a microscope. We can watch them in the form of chemicals that get emitted into our body. So when you have a thought, it creates an emotion. And that emotion, whether it's a good emotion or a bad emotion, scary emotion or positive emotion, emits chemicals into your body. Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These are all feel-good chemicals. It also emits, on the other hand, with negative thoughts, it emits stress hormones and cortisol and adrenaline. And all of that yummy stuff, or not so yummy stuff, goes into your body. So again, with that repetition of bad thoughts, which create bad emotions, the cortisol and other stress or hormones get flushed into your body. And with the repetition of those thoughts and emotions, good or bad, your body now becomes the mind. And your body is essentially addicted to those chemicals, which are in turn keeping you addicted to your thoughts. You don't have to understand it all right now, but you're starting to get a picture of how we can get trapped in a vicious cycle. Remember the 60 to 80,000 thoughts, and 80% are negative or fear-based, and the same thoughts as yesterday, 95% of them? We need to change the game, ladies, and you're on your way. So let's just take a look at this first quote by Dr. Joe. When we learn the tools and techniques, we can change our physiological function by changing our emotional state. We can change the strength of our immune system by trading fear for gratitude. And not just speaking words of what you're grateful for, but feeling them. Feeling is everything. It almost makes me cry because our thoughts can make us sick. They literally make us sick and take hard hits on our immune system and cause depression, low self-worth, defeat, anxiety, worry. And now we know it affects our immune system and can make us sick. But now we know that our thoughts can also make us well. And it's a huge breakthrough. So the second one, for you to change your body into a new genetic expression, to get it back into balance, to a healthy state of homeostasis, The inner emotion you create has to be greater than the emotion from our past outer experiences. So that means we're recognizing the emotions from our past programming are dominating our present. And what we're going to do is start challenging those lovely, lovely thoughts, those lovely programs. We're going to start deliberately talking to ourselves differently, which is going to make us feel differently, which is going to produce elevated emotions and empowering emotions so that the brain starts pruning the old programs. And we're going to flood our body with better neurochemicals. Remember, this is not a one and done. You have to continue to water your new plant, your new program, or the unwanted roots from the old will pop back up. Meaning continuously talking to yourself and treating yourself right. The third quote, the unconscious repetition trains the body to remember an emotional state equal or better than the conscious mind does. When the body remembers an emotion better than the conscious mind, in other words, when the body is the mind, that's called a habit. And remember, a habit, it doesn't care that you know better and just go, oh, okay, so you're going to do better. You have to practice feeling better, and you're on your way. So recent discoveries show that our body plays a key role in how we think and feel. It's not just about changing our thoughts. Our body reacts to thoughts, which again can affect our physical state, well-being, and health. Some refer to the body as the unconscious mind. Another mind. We have the conscious, we have the subconscious, and now our body, some call the unconscious mind. That's how we just do things without even thinking. You don't even recognize it. But you're not thinking when you're pouring your cup of coffee. You're not thinking when you're blow drying your hair. You're not really even thinking when you're driving, like you think you're thinking. Your body knows the way. And that's the good part. That's the good part about your body becoming the mind. So let's take another look at this quote from Dr. Joe. Main points. Thoughts trigger body reactions. Every thought you have causes a chemical reaction in your brain, sending signals to your body. Understanding this helps you see how your thoughts impact your body. So for example, if you worry about someone being upset with you, your brain releases chemicals that makes your body feel tense or anxious. These are chemicals in our body called neurotransmitters, neuropeptides, and hormones. Neurotransmitters are like little messengers that quickly send signals from your brain to your body. The neuropeptides help your brain and body communicate, while hormones affect the way you feel physically. Together, they help your body respond to what's happening around you. Real or perceived? Real or perceived? So if you're worried about talking to someone because you think they might be upset with you, your brain sends out neurotransmitters that makes you feel anxious. Again, this triggers your body to release stress hormones like adrenaline, preparing you for a fight or flight response. And there it is again. And it feels real. And again, it's all in your head. Nothing is really even happening. This creates a cycle where you keep feeling anxious almost automatically. And again, so often there really is no threat. So your body gets used to these stressful feelings and actually craves them, making it hard to break free. So just stay positive, right? Doesn't work that way. Not quite like that. So as it makes it really hard to break free, it affects your happiness and your health. Be aware. Well, you're going to learn to be aware. So being aware when you're stuck in those anxious feelings You're going to learn how to bring your focus back to the present, rationalize things out, soothe those emotions, and help you regain control. This awareness is the first step to improving the connection between your mind and body. Here's a couple more examples. Aside from its relationship with thoughts and emotions, of how powerfully the body is conditioned to perform by repetition alone. You've heard of somebody being blacked out on alcohol, not conscious, but yet they drive home, they make a sandwich, they talk to you on the phone, and they don't remember any of it. That's the power of the body being the mind. Here's another one that's crazy. So you take the same steps every morning, repeatedly, to the door. You open the door, you lock the door, you walk to your car, you do it the same way, you look at the same thing. It's a pattern, whether you recognize it or not. So much so that you could walk out your front door and I could be standing right next to you, standing there going like this, and you don't even see me. Have you ever been driving down the road and you're like, when did that building go up? Because you always look this way. That's your program. And a real cute example is move your garbage can or your coffee pot, something you do every day. Put it on the other counter. Put your garbage in the bathroom on the other side of the toilet or wherever you keep it. And watch how many times you're like, oh my gosh, you knew you moved it. So why are you going back to the same place? You're getting it, girl. So what are we learning? Here's the takeaway. Understanding the relationship between the brain and body is relevant. And thoughts, feelings, and emotions are everything and will never just go away. And this is good news because as you're seeing, or you're going to see even more as we move forward, the next slide is going to reveal why we get stuck. And this next module is going to help us and empower us to actually believe we can get unstuck. Actually believe it. Oh yeah, we can. I don't care what anyone says. We can get unstuck, out of our heads, and live the life we want. Straight from the heart. Straight from the authentic self. Here we are, the number one question. So we're about to wrap up this module, and I want to share a little exercise with you, a little emotional fitness discovery exercise with you. All right, so the number one question. How do I say blank without feeling blank? Okay, so this came from back in the day when I had my radio broadcast, Lifelines, and people would call in. And it also came from all my years being behind the chair and having a female clientele. And all of a sudden, I just started noticing. How do I tell my friend that I can't go to her party without her feeling upset? How do I start this job without feeling anxious? How do I say this without somebody being mad? How do I say this without feeling guilty? How am I supposed to do that without feeling bad? Oh, right? You ever been there? Because I know I have. All I want is a day off. How do I do it? I feel lazy. I don't want to feel lazy. I want to have a night out with the girls. But I feel like my husband and kids will think I'm selfish. I don't want them to think that. I don't want them to feel that. Feel without feeling. And it hit me. You can't say anything without feeling. Right? In other words, you can't not feel. Let me say it again. You can't say anything without feeling something. Yet your adorable little subconscious brain says, don't do it, don't do it. Something bad's going to happen. Play small, pretend, avoid, say you're fine. Do what you do best. Stay small. It's the only way. And your body is cheering those emotions on. Feed me more of that. I love those stress hormones. So what's the answer? I think you're starting to understand and know what the answer is. It's to be able to navigate the feeling, to face the fear and do it anyway. Right? Feel it and do it anyway. I'm going to feel vulnerable. I'm going to worry about somebody being upset, but I'm still going to say no. Yeah. Of course you don't want to hurt other people's feelings or make them feel bad in some way. But what you're really doing is avoiding managing your own feelings around their reaction to your choice, to your decision, to what you're going to say. So you're trying to figure it out. How do I say it without them feeling or thinking something? All right? So I can't go to somebody's New Year's Eve party. I know my friend's a little sensitive. I don't know how I'm going to say it without her feeling something. I just have to say it. Hey, I'm not going to make it to your party. Not all the reasoning, the explanations, why you can't go, why you're so busy, why. If she says why, I'm just not going to be able to make it. But I want to come to your next party. You get the point. This prevents us from enjoying our life, keeps us trapped, keeps us stuck, keeps us feeling victimized. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to learn how to manage our emotions around our own self-talk and around other people's reactions or our perceived reactions to what we're going to say or what we're going to do. And again, it's not just other people. When you're alone with that sneaky self-talk, doesn't even knock, just barges in and reminds you that you have plenty to feel bad and to worry about. And it robs you of your power. So part of it is becoming aware of the feelings you're avoiding, denying, and escaping by knowing what they're saying. And we'll talk about that more in the next module. So for this week, this module, I'd like you to do a little reflecting. What's the number one questions you're dealing with right now? How would you fill in those blanks? I've heard it all, I think. And the magic happens when you see that you're not alone and that so many other women have filled in those blanks just like you. Yeah. What a great feeling for all of us to know that we're not alone in our thoughts or what we're struggling with. So if you're willing, put your number one question in the Facebook group. Practice a little vulnerability. Share your answers or a few of your number one questions that you're either facing now or you have experienced in the past. Doesn't matter. Ask for others to share. I promise you, you won't be sorry if you go first. And you'll see how it helps others and how other people can relate. And it connects you. You might even get a little laugh, or you might even have a little tear as you can feel the struggles you and other women have been going through. Right? When I had my radio broadcast, every time somebody would call in and I'd throw them a lifeline, somebody else would put in the chat or call up and say, hey, I want to thank that person because I'm exactly in the same spot. And that helped so much, but I was too afraid to call in. And we acknowledged that and we celebrated that. So feel free, if you want to practice being vulnerable, start engaging in the Facebook group and connect. And remember, this is about discovery and awareness and ahas. Remember Oprah, aha moments? That's what it's all about right now. It's not about fixing it or acting on it. All right? give it a shot or not. So I have one more little special bonus for you before we wrap up this module. All right, we got one little bonus. This is my just do it story. To navigate the feeling, face the fear, and do it anyway. So we talked about the subconscious brain and we talked about the conscious brain. And when I was very isolated, going through identity crisis, PTSD, it was not safe for me to be out and about with my emotions. I was in my condo and I had a lot of time to observe my thoughts. And one night I noticed, it was about 9 o'clock, and I was like, I gotta go wash my face and take my contacts out and brush and floss. And I started noticing the way I felt. And then I started noticing that's what I say or how I feel every night. And so I said to myself, no, 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 no. Don't start writing the story. Don't start the emotion. Just stand up. Now just walk in the bathroom. Now just turn on the water. Now just grab a washcloth. And all of a sudden, it was just objective. It was right here. There were commands. And there we go. It was the thought that was killing me, not the action. Just the thought. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I started practicing it with going to the gym. I gotta go to the gym. And then I have to run 8 miles. And all of a sudden I'd say, whoa, 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 whoa. Stop writing the story. Just stand up. Now just walk in the bedroom. Now just put on a sports bra. Now just grab your gym bag. Now just walk out the door. And guess what? All of a sudden I had access. I had access to the part of my brain that only makes 10% of the decisions. But what I was able to do was soothe and calm down my survival brain through what it was saying. And I got to talk back. And that was a game changer. So I started researching it. And guess what popped up? Nike. So Nike, their tagline, just do it, put them on the map. They're a great company. They're a great brand. They're not the best brand out there. But when they put the word just before do it, what they're saying is stop writing the story. Stop the emotion. Just do it. Just stand up. Just walk out the door. Just take a step. And I was like, gosh darn it. Wow. So that's what I say to myself. It was what I was saying to myself. Just stand up. Just walk over here. Now just sit down. Now just open the computer. And next thing you know, put one foot in front of the other. And soon we'll be walking across the floor. Yeah, I'm singing. Put one foot in front of the other. And soon we'll be walking out the door. Yeah, how do you like me now? That was off key. Oh well, what you gonna do? We're gonna move on. But you get it. You start looking back and you're like, oh my gosh, look how far I've come. So motivation doesn't cause action. Action causes motivation. Momentum. You keep going. You just take another step. So trying to get motivated, that's great. We talk about it. Oh my gosh, we're going to do nothing this weekend and we're going to start this diet and we're going to talk to that person and we're going to do all these things and I got to get motivated. No. We take one step in the right direction and just do it. Thank you. I'll see you in the next module.